So I mean, we would like very much to start with content issues, and just now I'm going to make a bit of a retrospective on our workshop because we conducted workshops late 2012 and beginning of 2013, and the first set of question was really hold on, voilà. These are the three angles of a question, because we wanted in our program, you know, our program is really looking at the future in 10 years' time. So we wanted to look at privacy through three starting questions. The first set of questions was really around the question of ownership. What does it mean, ownership? Does it really mean something? Is it really worth of value in 10 years' time? And do we need to have some of who own and some, or are we going to move towards more like universal access? So we had a first starting question, and sometimes, you know, in future studies, your starting question is not a good question, but it's very interesting to start with not a very good question, because then it raises answers and questioning in a much deeper field. The second set of questions was really around digital identity. And it's true that the question we had is that is public data is likely to determine our digital identity. And as Francis says, actually we started to have a very kind of philosophical approach about identity. And we discussed a lot about what was really true identity, what you call inner identity, you know, like a bit like the NDA of identity. And actually the discussion was quite philosophical. And then the third set of questions was more around value creation, because obviously in our group we have researchers, we have people coming from the private sector, public sector, and the interest of value creation was really like how it's going to evolve, what are the major challenges, and what will bring value, services, how services will bring value, what will be the role of economic intermediaries, and as awareness on privacy increases, is public value likely to develop, and how? So that was the first set of questions. The program as such, methodologically speaking, we had workshops that were conducted both in Paris and as well on Google+. So it was actually a team coming from different continents. And the obvious objective, the starting objective, was really to share our vision about the concept, but coming from really very different angle. And we had obviously the barrier of language, which was not obvious, but as well the barrier of disciplines, of a culture, both nationally and as well in terms of belonging of our institution. So we had a team of 12 people. This is the team of people. Michel from Google, Marie Pascal, who is here today from Alcatel Lucent Bell Labs, Thomas from Google, Francis, Stéphane, who is going to talk later on this afternoon from SFR, Marion from Orange, Claire Levallois, who is going to talk this afternoon, Christian Martin from USA Institute Telecom in Silicon Valley, Joseph from SFR, and Mathieu from BNP Paribas, who is going to talk this afternoon, and Vincent Toubiana, who at the time was working for Alcatel and is now working for the CNIL. So with this team, we elaborated some discussion about privacy. And what we did at the end of this workshop is that we tried to really draw our vision in 10 years' time of privacy. So it was an exercise more like, if you wish, not so much very formal exercise of future studies, but like very much liberating our imagination. Because at some point in time in the workshop, we had so different angle and so different understanding of a subject that we felt we were like saying, oh, God, we are not going to reach any convergence, any comprehension of what everybody is talking. But actually, when everybody made the effort to write their vision in 10 years' time about how the concept will evolve, I was very surprised because there was a lot of convergence coming out of this vision of the future. And these are the 10 points I would like to share with you, just as a starting introduction for our day. The first idea that really converged is that more, of course, in the context of where more transaction, we have more data exchange, and of course the flow bring values. And it's not at all the stock, it's not the question of property, it's really the question, the value comes from the interaction, from attracting attention, from creating new links, and from what you do with it versus what just the fact to collect it. So that was the first converging idea. The second converging idea was really that we're facing a cognitive evolution, and in fact, in the context of overflow of information, we remember more the context, so the likes, rather than the information as such, or the profile of the person, and that is again another issue we analyzed. The third important aspect is that all of the people really say there's a major risk of surveillance society. So again, I think that was very surprising because during the workshop we were not so much challenged by this idea, but something really people would see a failure of data protection legislation, either coming from legislation or coming from the technologies themselves. And again, that was an interesting point. The fourth common issue raised was the expected huge technical collapse, kind of security break or Black Thursday. So that's where the imagination developed a lot, because again, I think 2 out of 3 people in the team really mentioned that there will be a backlash or a break, security break, and this break will actually provoke a change in consciousness, and the level of awareness will raise after this if you wish, Black Thursday. Another point is the traceability and trust, that we really see that trust is being redefined. Actually, we're moving towards more long-term relationship, more loyalty to people, and the idea is really that the meaning of trust is evolving as the value chain creation and is becoming more transparent. So this is a hope that is generally shared by the team. Another point is really the idea of identity. Everybody is convinced that we are moving towards double identity, at least, even sometimes more. We had like a discussion about, and that digital identity will actually come to support and the help of protecting private life. Okay, so that was again another common point. 7, the increased acceptance of sharing data for common good, increased social and public value. And this is a quote actually from one member of the team who was saying that likely evolution of the notion of privacy from the ability to control one's personal information, collection, disclosure, use, etc., to a dynamic process of negotiating personal boundaries in intersubjective relations. So actually this is something that we couldn't really go very much deep into, but I'm sure that Grebam will actually contribute with this intervention this morning to this question. Personal data as currency of a digital market. Bon, this is quite common, but again, this is an argument that was raised by the team. Actually, what was very interesting is a convergence regarding the future of market economy and market of privacy, with actually 3 types of emerging roles. The role around citizens, okay, where we could see free for citizens, privacy free for citizens, operated by governments around open data, public value. The second is really as clients, okay, so where you're ready actually to pay a premium for a secure and integrated solution and services. So this is typically the vision of the private actors, seeing like the evolution of having 4 or 5 major actors in the field. And as well, and I think this is an interesting part of a discussion, because it is a growing discussion coming from different angles, is the fact that we could eventually see a minority of users who develop their own autonomous solution. We see that in terms of internet penetration, we have a minority part of people who are completely not connected. Okay, some of them are not connected because they simply are afraid, if you wish, of being connected. But a most growing minority part are not connected because of they are slow movers, they are activists, they don't want to be connected. And again, I think that is raising, a very interesting question as the behavior regarding privacy. And finally, most people were really hopeful about the future regarding the legislation, and most of people think that a new kind of rights and protection will emerge, as data ownership will not mean the same, and new legal and techno tools will be developed. So you see that there are some black and white visions about the future of privacy. Voilà. So this journey, I would say the journey of the day, is really to continue this discussion. Again, we are more interested by the questioning than by the answers, and we are more interested to share different paradigms and to have discussion around what is presented today. This is why we've divided the day in 3 parts, the more like socio-cultural part in the morning, then after the governance issue and legal aspect, and then the economic aspect in the afternoon. But for that, we didn't want to have the lawyers answering the second question, or the private companies answering the economic value. We wanted to have a mix of different paradigms, different vision. That's why we always invited to have researchers, people from companies or from public institutions, to really share their view about the evolution of the concept of privacy. So I want to thank in particular today Claire Levallois and especially Pierre-Antoine Chardel, because you help a lot today for the organization of the day. And thanks to Pierre-Antoine, we had the chance to connect with Hélène. And I will leave the floor to Hélène. If you want to come, we start with the first topic around socio-cultural and philosophy.